Now what we're going to do is we're going to look at solving two different types of equations. One is linear and the other is absolute value. Now, so we distinguish the two. An absolute value is where we have these two bars, and those two bars mean that whatever's inside is positive. So the absolute value of -3 is 3. The absolute value of 3 is also 3. So that means that no matter what's inside is always going to be positive. Now hold on to that thought. We're going to solve some linear equations, and then we're going to get back to that. Now for the linear equations, we're going to solve this by distributing the 4, and that gives us 4x minus 20. We're going to distribute the 2, and that gives us 2x plus 2. We're going to get the x's on one side, so I'm going to subtract by 2x on both sides. That cancel the x on the right, so I get 2x minus 20 equals 2. Then I'm going to add the 2, and that gives me 2x is equal to, that would be a 22. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it by 2. So when I divide it by 2, x is equal to 11. Now for the second one, what I notice is that I have a fraction. So I'm going to eliminate the 3 by multiplying both sides of the equation by 3. That way the 3's cancel, and I'm left with x minus 5. Then I'm going to distribute the 3 to each of the terms, and that gives me 6x plus 12. I'm going to get the x's on one side, so I'm going to subtract the x. And that gives me -5 is equal to 5x plus 12. Then I'm going to subtract the 12. And I get -17 is equal to 5x. Now, since I want to get the x by itself, what I'm going to do is I'm going to divide it by 5. So I divide both sides by 5. And when I divide it by 5, what I get is x is equal to -17 over 5. Now, for the third linear equation, what I see are two fractions. I have one with a 4 and one with a 2. So I'm going to look for the common denominator. The common denominator would be 4. So I'm going to multiply everything by 4. When I multiply the first one by 4, 4 times 1 is 4. Divided by 4 is 1. So that gives me 1x. 4 times 7 is 28. 4 times x is 4x. 4 times 1 is 4. Divided by 2 is 2. Now I'm going to get the x's on one side. This time I'm just going to subtract the 4x. Instead of subtracting the x, it doesn't matter which way you do it. So I have -3x plus 28 is equal to -2. I'm going to subtract the 28. -3x is equal to -30. When I divide it by -3, what happens is a negative, and a negative gives me a positive. So x is equal to 10. So that right there would be all the linear equations. Now we're going to move into the absolute value equations. Notice that these are different because we have the bars that we mentioned earlier. As I said before, the bars make everything positive, so that gives us a problem. We're not sure if the x minus 4 is a 9 or if it's a -9. The absolute value of 9 is 9. The absolute value of -9 is also 9. So we actually have two possibilities. So we're going to solve for each of those possibilities. Our first equation is going to be x minus 4 equals 9. The second equation is going to be x minus 4 equals -9. So I'm going to add the 4, and that gives me x is equal to 13. I'm going to add the 4 on the other side. -9 plus 4 gives me x equals -5. So the next one is a little bit more complicated. Now, in order to write the two equations, the absolute value needs to be by itself. So what we're going to do is we're going to get the absolute value by itself. First step, I'm going to subtract the 3, and I get negative absolute value of 2x minus 3 is equal to -9. Then I'm going to divide it by -1. When I divide it by -1, I get the absolute value of 2x minus 3 is equal to 9. Now, once I have the absolute value by itself, I'm going to write the two equations. One where it's 2x minus 3 equals 9. Another one where it's 2x minus 3 equals -9. I'm going to add the 3 on both sides, and I'm going to solve both equations at the same time. And so that gives me 2x is equal to 12, or 2x is equal to -6. Then when I divide it by 2, I get two answers. One where x is equal to 6. The other one is where x is equal to -3. So x is equal to 6 or -3. For our last one, once again, just like letter E, what we want to do is we want to get the absolute value by itself. So I'm going to subtract the 1. I get 3, absolute value of x plus 4 is equal to 6. I'm going to divide it by 3 in order to get the absolute value by itself, and I get the absolute value of x plus 4 is equal to 2. Once I have the absolute value by itself, remember, I'm not sure if this is a 2 or a -2, because the absolute value of 2 is 2. The absolute value of -2 is also 2. So my dilemma is I'm not sure which one is correct, so I solve for both of them. So in order to solve it, I'm going to subtract the 4. And that gives me x is equal to -2 or -6.